We're going to talk about the truth behind the scary stories coming out about Scientology, including two brave women who came forward recently to share their stories that they've never shared before, their experiences about Scientology. We're going to get an update on Lisa Marie Presley's memoir. We're going to talk about how Lara FM is making an impact on Alon Harbor Way, and so much more on today's Scientology recap. Hey, everybody, welcome. I'm Natalie. This is Scientology Life After a Cult. We talk about that. We talk about my 35 years in this cult and leaving with 3 generations of my family and do interviews. And that is something that's been happening a lot lately. There were 2 women who came forward recently, shared their stories. We're going to get more into that. Oh my goodness, you guys, we have so much to talk about. Hello to everybody in the chat. Welcome to the members. Thank you so much. Your support as a member on this channel means everything. If you'd like to become a member, go ahead and check out the link in the description of this video, or you can click that join button as well. All right, everybody, you guys all ready to get into this? Aloha, everybody. Let's see. I love seeing all the alohas in the chat. So feel free to jump in there and give me an aloha. I'm saying aloha to you. Thank you for being here. If you're new to my channel, the alohas are all about because I was born and raised in Hawaii, but now I live in Minnesota because I like the seasons. And it's now where my kids grew up and my grandkids are here. So I have put down roots. But aloha, aloha, aloha. I love seeing that. Now, let's talk about a couple of kind of crazy Scientology testimonials. There is a YouTube channel. This young woman, as I understand it, I think she like gets Scientology mail because she moved into a house of somebody that maybe was a Scientologist, and she keeps getting these source magazines, which is Scientology's magazine from the Flag land base, and it is hilarious that she shares some of these testimonials. So this is basically the wins of Scientology, because when you are a Scientologist and you are doing the Scientology, every single time you finish something, and often during it, you have to write what's called a success story. It is a testimonial. And if you do not write one, you get sent back to the beginning of the line to redo it and pay for it at your own expense. So Scientologists are heavily indoctrinated into understanding that you better write that success story. I mean, you better write it good too, and you better mean it. And they take these success stories and put them sometimes in their magazines and publications to share them with all of us. And she's sharing it with us, and I love this.
These are very profound. Superpower gradiently raised my power as a being and completely changed my negative thoughts to positive.
First off, what is happening? Like, is this something they wear while they're on superpower, these little outfits, or did they come with this? Somebody got to tell me, because this is in the Superpower building in Clearwater. And it does seem like, I mean, they're very matchy-matchy, but the win is that Superpower gradiently raised my power as a being and completely changed my negative thoughts to positive. All apparently by running around a pole and paying tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know. I can think of some cheaper ways to, raise your power as a being and even change negative thoughts to positive thoughts.
Elvira says, session after session, I was introduced to the being who is me, and I became a true friend to myself. Superpower is necessary for every one of us. Don't miss out on this gift that Ron intended for you.
And Superpower, of course, like I said, only delivered at the Flag Land Base in that big building, one of their big buildings over there.
The way that they talk about him like a deity, in fact, they think that he is still alive, like in spirit. I don't know how you can hear a word out of the cupboard's mouth and think that he's worthy of worship, but okay. Alessandro says, I had always thought I was a very active guy, but...
And here we are again with the little outfit. I don't know how I didn't know this, how I missed it. I didn't realize that when you do Superpower in Scientology, you get a little tracksuit.
The truth of the matter was that I was dead as a Thetan. When I completed that rundown, I was reborn, and now I am completely alive.
Completely alive and powerful.
Such a shame when you're dead as a Thetan. Ooh, Elvira's gonna give us
Again with the outfit. Again with the outfit. Now, I wonder if these are some of the polls that they run around. What's happening here? I don't know. Is every space in Superpower this just complete white space? What's happening?
a little poll show. I don't know what kind of sci-fi movie this is, but
Well, it's not a poll because, as you guys know, they don't let you do. Because when I saw that, I'm like, are those polls? Is Scientology now doing strip fitness classes? The same thing I got in trouble for doing as a Scientologist. No, it's not. I doubt it. Definitely not in those outfits. But there's something to do with polls and running around the polls on Superpower, where you pay tens of $1,000s to do that, and then you somehow get these superpowers. But I guess it's a very expensive way to get one of these tracksuits. And here's my question. Why don't we see them running around wearing these? Why don't we see them around Clearwater? Has anybody seen them outside Clearwater running around these outfits? Or do they change when they get into the building? Kind of like, if you're a scientist and you show up at the lab and, you got to take off your outdoor clothes because they're germy and put on your suit. I mean, I don't know. I just can't believe that I've not noticed this before. Did you guys? Tell me. Am I the only one that didn't know they wore these uniforms and track suit while doing the Superpower? Because I feel like I've never seen it before. Now let's go over to Alon Harbor Way, where Lara FM is making an impact. This girl was walking up and down Alon Harbor Way, getting people to sign the petition to question Scientology's tax exempt status. That is so baller to just do it right there on Alon Harbor Way. Let's take a look at what happened. Check it out. Like right there on Alon Harbor Way while they're doing one of their pretend events.
People to sign a petition that would revoke Scientology's tax exempt status.
Am I the only one that every time I hear revoke Scientology's tax exempt status, I hear Jacob Harkey's song, revoke Scientology's tax exempt status? I love this.
Well, we didn't join. We're just
No, but would you be interested in signing the petition? You could do. There's a QR.
These dudes had just come out of the org, probably the Los Angeles organization down the street, because they don't seem to be really down with Scientology. Obviously not, because they signed this petition, but they did have one of those fancy Ron mags.
Code, you could do it on your phone.
And you can
Yes.
directly.
Perfect.
Hilarious. You guys have the broad package.
They always have events like this, just to like.
Yeah, you don't want to.
Scan that.
Can I see what you're holding
Are
there?
you guys
Just to-
looking on-
for my stream.
Ron's footsteps.
Oh, I was born and raised.
What is this?
so-
Guy? What is
Yeah, my
this?
dad is.
It's always fancy housing. How rich he is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The
I'm-
houses
I'm
that are
declared
waiting for him when he returns from the dead. Yeah.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
It's showing like all his stuff, all his places, the homes in the vaults, outside the vaults, waiting for him to return.
Yeah.
Have you watched John Wick? They excommunicate
This is the sign the tax exempt status.
That's what happened with her.
Yeah.
They take
So now they're gonna send and they.
Love this. Love this. Right there. Just on Alon Harbor Way. I'm like, yeah. It's just so great. Aloha to everybody jumping in the chat. Hey, when y'all come in, go show some aloha to that like button as well. And I love seeing the alohas in the chat. Thank you so much for that. All right. Lara FM continued to speak her truth there on Alon Harbor Way, and I was here for it. Link down below to her video so you can go see the whole thing of her being out there, and link down below to all of the articles and videos that we are going to be talking about here. So let's look at another one.
I was born and raised in this. I was in the Sea Org. This isn't somebody just randomly talking to you. This is somebody who knows.
Look how dude in the hat actually stops and pauses to listen to what she's saying
As a child
for like a hot second.
how it felt to be in the Sea Org and not be around their parents. And now I'm addicted.
I was just looking down, just
because
trying
I
to
chose to be
listen.
an artist and sing my heart out and expose this cult. If you can't think for yourself, how are you free? If you have to leave because you can't hear what I'm saying, you're not free. I was born and raised in this.
Oh, just so powerful. She has such a powerful voice, even when she's not singing, just getting her message out like that. It's so raw. And here's the thing. Look at this video too. Somebody spoke to a Sea Org member about her dad. Lara FM's dad is Phill Anderson. He is still a Sea Org member, practicing Scientology's harmful practice of disconnection and is not in touch or contacting or, reaching out to his own daughter. So, of course, she shows up to raise awareness about Scientology and that it's a human trafficking cult and what it really is. And sometimes people ask Sea Org members, hey, do you know Phill Anderson? Have you seen him? Can you deliver a message to him from his daughter?
Good afternoon, sir. Have you seen Phill Anderson? He works in the galley, in the cafeteria. Have you seen Phill at all? No. Do you know Phill Anderson? Yeah. If you see him, tell him his daughter Lara Anderson's looking for him and misses him and loves him very much. Okay. What is your name? Chris. Chris, I'm Matthew. Hi, Matthew. Nice to meet you, sir. Have a beautiful day. Remember, you're loved by many. Just remember to tell Phill Anderson that for us, okay? Lara Anderson. Okay. Thank you. Have a great day, Chris.
That's unusual, right? That the Sea Org member actually answers, stops, responds. So maybe he'll even tell him. How great would that be? I love it. I love it when protesters are out there doing that to deliver a message to Phill Anderson. Confident Chris did that not that long ago. It was just some weeks ago as well. I agree, Marcy. It was amazing. Cubana Chica, yes. Wow. I agree. It's so awesome. Good job, Matt. All right, let's go over now to Alon Harbor Way later in the day. Audit LA was there showing some of the Scientology ADA violations. Audit LA has been an advocate in this and in so many ways when it comes to exposing Scientology. But let's take a look at what she was sharing and calling them out on right there on Alon Harbor Way.
Guys, one of these. Let's see what's wrong with it. First of all, it's not the whole length of the sidewalk. Are you pack security? Oh, nice to see you. You're not Ken, are you? You look a little like Ken. He's my favorite. I hope that doesn't get him kicked. I hope that doesn't put him in the RPG or whatever. What's the thing on the basement that's like the jail? I forget. I hope they didn't.
It's the Rehabilitation Project Force, otherwise known as the RPF, Scientology's gulag in the Sea Org, where they send people to be punished, which Scientology claims doesn't exist anymore. But they say that about a lot of things.
Put him down there because I said I like him. The only reason, he's big, tough, and mean. Don't get me wrong, and chases me away. But I liked him because the car was coming and he warned me not to get hit by a car. And so to me, that's being a good Scientologist. Like, you're supposed to be helping the world.
Yep, true that. I love how she gives them, props for that. But you see at the beginning of the video here, that's the issue. She couldn't get over that on her wheelchair, and it doesn't cover up the entire sidewalk either. It's a tripping hazard and makes the sidewalk now no longer ADA compliant. What in the world? You think they would learn, but do they learn? No, but I'm glad that she's there continuing to bring attention to this and show it. And you guys see it there. And the security guard, the one who works for Scientology that I don't think is a Sea Org member, was there. And he always chats with her and talks with her. So go ahead and check out her video. It's linked down below so that you can check out and see the whole thing. Now let's go over to Kansas City where Z News was there with Auditing Scientology. And of course, Scientology got to go call the police as if they're doing something wrong, which of course they are not. They are not. But does it stop them? No, it doesn't. But take a look at what happened.
Protesting obviously is not illegal. Yeah, none of what we're doing is illegal. Can I ask what the call was for? Can I ask what the call was for?
It's about you guys, but I told them that you guys aren't doing anything wrong.
Oh, okay.
Expressing yourselves as you have the right to.
He's basically saying you guys aren't doing anything wrong. You're expressing yourselves as you have a right to. And I let them know in Scientology. I went and told them. They know what's up. But Scientology is still going to try and complain and involve law enforcement when they shouldn't. What Scientology should be doing is cleaning up that garbage in the street there and the cigarette butts around the corner in their alley there. And this is Church of Scientology, Kansas City. So we've seen this a few times. I've been out there and visited with them. We did some protesting. Great crew out there. Let's see. Crafting Emily, thank you so much for the super chat. She says, I love that she's showing things that aren't ADA compliant. This is what got me interested in exposing Scientology because they weren't ADA compliant. That is interesting, Emily. And yes, I absolutely love that as well. Pepperoni. I hope you covered Kelly's live last night. Send me a link. I've not seen it. Natalie at lifeafteroccult.com. If you guys see something, say something. You can email it to me with a timestamp and tell me what it is I'm looking at or looking for. Or you can even send a clip if it's under a minute and let me know what I'm looking at as well. But I did not see it. So please send me a link. Natalie at lifeafteroccult.com. Okie dokie. Now, Auditing Scientology, Kansas City says that was the third time they called the cops on us. And it was also the third time that the police said, yeah, this is kind of a big nothing burger. You're not doing anything wrong. You get to be here. You get to do this, all of the things, but they still try anyways. Well, and I get why Scientology in Kansas City is getting a little peeved about people live streaming and protesting Scientology and basically showing up at their recruitment events where they're trying to recruit. And this is what happened. And Auditing Scientology was there. And you're not going to believe what Scientology was saying and lying about to people about who they are at this fair, at this event that was happening. Let's take a look at this.
It sounds like you are aware they are Scientologists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to see what they would say.
Okay.
But he denied it.
They denied it.
He said they were not Scientology.
Okay.
But they own the rights to the book.
Did you hear that? They're not Scientology, but they own the rights to the book. What? That doesn't even make any sense. Why would you say you're not Scientology when you're out there selling Dianetics book and you're a member of the Sea organization and a staff member there? What in the world? I love Mama Opal's little trivia question, by the way. What was the name of the guy who yelled at Natalie in Kansas City? If you guys remember when I was there, he had a few choice words to say to me. So let's finish watching this.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well,
yeah, I know.
Yeah, that.
He also knew what's his name.
Alon Harbor. Yeah, the
no,
woman.
No, he knew another guy, Crowley, who's into sex magic and stuff. He was into some of that stuff too.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, he wasn't. He knew him. I'm like, yeah, they were in together.
Yeah, that woman that gave you the stress test.
Oh, I know.
She's a Sea Org member. She signed a billion-year contract.
I know. And she denied the volcano and the aliens.
That is hilarious. So these people that Auditing Scientology is speaking to, we're talking to Desiree. Do you guys remember Desiree? Some of you called her Sea Org Sally. So when Z News went into Scientology in Kansas City to learn more about it, she recorded her conversation with Desiree, who is a Sea organization member who's been there for about 5 years, because they send Sea Org members out there because there just aren't enough staff members to cover everything. And not because they're so busy with people, but because they have this big empty building that they can barely afford the utilities on. So in these recordings that Z News wanted to go back and listen to her for herself, she didn't go in there intending to actually share it, but they're very eye-opening, coming from a current Sea organization member. And now we're hearing these people are hitting up these Dianetics, these Dianetic tables there in Kansas City and being told that it's not Scientology, that they just own the license to the book. What in the world? That makes no sense. It's so easily disproved that it's kind of laughable. And for everybody who was guessing and remembers the name of the guy in Kansas City that told me to go F myself, you are correct. His name is not Jerry. That's what we were calling him. And yeah, he was not Aloha. That is for sure. Yeah, he didn't like what I was saying. Not one bit he didn't. Okay, hold on a second here. I'm going to show you a little bit more of this clip because they also talked to Desiree about South Park.
Yeah, but they hit it on those times. South Park is a cartoon. Okay.
I don't know if you can hear that, but basically, Desiree, the Sea Org member for Scientology, just said that, well, South Park's a cartoon. It's just a cartoon. Girl, it's a cartoon that almost verbatim gave the operating Thetan level 3 story, the story you find out on the upper levels about Xenu rounding up people on other planets, dumping them into volcanoes on Earth, blowing them up, and then catching them on electronic ribbons and implanting them with information, and then they attach themselves to humans, and that's our whole problem with the whole body Thetan thing and all that. So how I get denying that because Desiree herself has not done the upper level. So of course she doesn't know about it. Of course she thinks that South Park is just a cartoon and none of that was accurate because that's what Scientology tells their people. And then they believe it. And then they tell people that. What's crazy is if you've seen South Park, you're a Scientologist, and then you do the upper levels, you realize pretty quick that, ooh, they actually got it very right. They did. Oh my goodness. Okay, now let's look at something too, because Scientology, you know that they have front groups, right? We talk about that all the time, including Youth for Human Rights, the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, and they put out booklets and pamphlets that is actually propaganda tied to Scientology to get people in. And look at this one that Windy City Thetan Watch found where they're using images of Martin Luther King, Gandhi, and other actual human rights activists as part of their human rights campaign from Scientology. Could anything be any more ridiculous?
Scientology has passed out here. And again, it's an innocuous book, right? It's got some of the most famous peace people of all time, right? MLK, Gandhi, that this looks to be a peaceful, we're like them pamphlet, but Scientology is nothing like any of these people. Scientology has passed out here. And again, it's an...
Look at that. See Gandhi on there too. Just what in the world? This is the level that they will take it, you guys. They will use legitimate people who are actually really doing something for human rights and think that they can put them on their propaganda. And now they are safe pointed, as it's called, right? With those people that, oh, well, if you like MLK or you like Gandhi, well, you're going to like Scientology now in our human rights program. No, it is complete and utter BS. You're right. They have no shame, no shame. No shame. They truly don't. I'm embarrassed for them. I'm actually embarrassed for them. That happens on a regular basis. I become very embarrassed for you, Scientology. Now, Windy City Thetan Watch was out there in Chicago and showing too talking about how Scientology exploits people's pain and why Windy does what he does out there in Chicago. And if you're not familiar, link below so you can see his other videos as well. Is a big thing that he does is when they're handing out their propaganda, he'll approach people and say, hey, do you know that that's Scientology? Almost for one, they don't. And when they find out it is, he'll say, hey, do you want that? Can I have it? And he gives them they give him the propaganda material. It's not something they're carrying around or might look at later.
There's going to come a day when they're at a low point in their life. And that's really when Scientology excels, because Scientology can detect when you're somebody who's depressed, disheartened, heartbroken, whatever we want to talk about in there, where you just have a sunken feeling, and they're going to take advantage of that. And I don't want somebody saying, hey, you know what, let me take this flyer out, let me go visit them, right? I don't want people coming to the cult thinking that it's okay, or that in despair, when I'm not around, that, hey, what can it hurt if I just take a visit over to the org?
I just love that. I love it. I love what you're doing. Thanks so much for doing that. Everybody who's out there. In fact, keep an eye out later today because Nance Drew, who has not been able to publicly talk about her case, I will be doing a live later. I am not gagged. Woo woo. This is huge news. Nance, that is fantastic. So be sure to go ahead and check that out when she goes live later. You can find her, Nance Drew, here on YouTube. All right, where we at? Let's go over now to Clearwater. Did you guys catch Frell Cheryl and her little song? Oh gosh, just got to share this. This was so funny. I love the creativity. Frell Cheryl is sitting outside of the superpower building where we looked earlier at those testimonials with the track suits. This is the building that they go into, run around the poles in, and wear those little track suits. So, you know, I should ask Cheryl actually if she sees people out there wearing those, and why do they have to wear them, and why is it all the same? And I'm not trying to be any way, but it's really giving Heaven's Gate. You remember that cult, the space cult, where the spaceship was going to, when the comet was coming, was going to pick them all up, and tragically and sadly, these cult members unalived themselves wearing kind of matching outfits and tennis shoes. It very much gives to me, it gives cult for sure, but it gives Heaven's Cult specifically. I felt. You guys tell me what your thoughts are about that with those little tracksuits. It just, I don't know. I find it to be a little triggering. So let's take a look at Frell Cheryl sitting right outside the superpower building of Scientology and singing a little ditty.
I've got buddy Thetans all over me. So many buddy Thetans, I just want to set them free. This one on my shoulder makes me laugh until I pee. Oh, I've got buddy Thetans stuck all over me.
Just love that so much. And if you're new to the channel and this whole Scientology thing, body thetans, you find out about on the upper levels. We talked about it a little bit earlier, and the belief is they're all stuck to us, and that is the cause of our problems. You find out about that on the upper levels after you reach the state of clear, where supposedly you have perfect memory and recall and all these things, which oddly, I reached that state and didn't have it, nor did anybody I knew, actually, no one that I knew. So I always find it hilarious when that kind of gets brought up as like, you know, a thing. But I love that. I love the creativity. I love Cheryl doing that. Great to see her doing that. Now, this weekend, you guys, if you did not catch these interviews on my channel, please take the time today when you can to watch them. There are two women who are former Scientologists, former Sea organization members who came forward for the first time to share their stories. And we're going to look at a couple of clips from these, and we're going to chat about it a little bit. First, let's take a look. This is Corinne. She was in the Sea organization when she was 12 years old. 12 years old. Let's take a look at a clip from her interview.
A lot of stuff back then is a blur because of, it's weird. See, look, it's happening. I think there's just a lot of stuff that happened that I don't know about, that I don't think about, and I don't talk about. And maybe it'll percolate to the surface now that I'm sort of like recalling that stuff. A lot of stuff back then is a blur because
it is not easy to do. And I think you guys know this, especially for the first time when you're sharing your story, you're revisiting these things that are incredibly traumatic, but you see the importance in it. So please give them a listen, get in the comments, show these women your support, because their stories are incredibly disturbing. In fact, Corinne shares how when she was a teenager, she basically was assigned to guard a woman who was having a mental health crisis. Because in Scientology, when you have a mental health crisis or a psychotic break, as they call it, you're labeled what's called potential trouble source type 3. And when you get that designation, it means you've had this break with reality and you need to be guarded and watched and you can't be spoken to. It's what they did with Lisa McPherson. Okay. And we all know how that ended. Lisa McPherson was a Scientologist who has experienced a mental health crisis. She ended up getting into a minor car accident in Clearwater, taking her clothes off. She was then taken to the hospital where she actually could have gotten some actual mental health treatment and valid help. Instead, Scientologists went there and took her and got her out of there. And they put her under lock and key at the Fort Harrison Hotel. And within 14 days, she was dead. Dr. David Minkoff is a Scientologist, the father of Rebecca Minkoff, who you will come to know from the Real Housewives of New York, was involved in that. And he had to pay out some money because of it. Didn't stop him, though. He went on to be involved in the death, and now there's a wrongful death lawsuit going on with another Scientologist. This happened in 2022, Whitney Mills. So they just don't learn their lesson. So Corinne is sharing what happened years ago when she was a teenager, and the woman she was tasked with guarding was, I believe at the time, the ex-wife of the person who was the executive director of Scientology International. My ex-Scientology friends, you would know him, Guillaume Leserve, that this was his ex-wife. And here's the interesting thing too. I was there when she was a course room supervisor when I was 15 years old, doing my own training in Scientology at those blue buildings. And I remember hearing that something had happened with her. I didn't realize she was off getting this handling. And Corinne really fills in the blanks of what happened at that time with her. And the disturbing thing too is that Corinne was just, I think she was 16, 17 when she was tasked to do this.
At nighttime, my schedule was to watch her from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. to make sure that she didn't harm herself or escape from this apartment. I was there with another older man. He was a World War II veteran, and he would sleep, but he would have these PTSD, like normal, what psychologists now call PTSD, nightmares at night, screaming in his dreams, like in the living room while I'm sitting and watching to make sure that Guillaume Leserve's ex-wife or whatever doesn't jump out of a window. At nighttime, my schedule was to watch her from 6 p.m.
Can you imagine? Think about it. When you were 16, 17 years old, can you imagine being assigned to guard a woman who's having a mental health crisis, to make sure she doesn't jump out of a window, to make sure she doesn't harm herself? You're not allowed to speak to her. Corinne would prop herself up against the door to try to stay awake inside the room with the woman so she could keep an eye on her. Meanwhile, in the other room, another Scientologist Sea Org member was sleeping. Somebody experiencing obviously severe PTSD from the time when he was in a war. And do you think this guy got any type of mental health treatment or help for this in Scientology? He did not. He did not. He's over there screaming in the other room. Now, how, even for Scientology, you know what? We got to wake up Osa for this one, because this is just pissing me off. David Miscavige, wake up your people. Office of Special Affairs, rally and wake up, my lovelies. Here's the deal. This whole potential trouble source type 3 handling, you really got to knock this stuff off. I'm telling you. How in what world do you take a teenage girl and task her with making sure this woman doesn't hurt herself, doesn't jump out of a window, et cetera, et cetera? And in the meantime, you got a guy in the other room who's having flashbacks to war, is screaming. One, how is that good for the woman who's supposed to be getting silent and quiet to get out of the state that she's in? How does that even work? Office of Special Affairs, maybe stop putting teenagers in charge of adults in Scientology who are having mental health crisis. They're not equipped. They are not trained. This is how people end up being hurt in Scientology, because they don't get the help they actually need. And Corinne's story is an important one. They all are, but I really implore you to watch. It's a long video because we go over a lot, but there is so much to her story that needs to be known, that needs to be heard. If you're somebody who live streams, who protests Scientology, this is information that you can use in protest. If you're someone who's reaching out to elected officials, asking them where they stand on their tax exempt status, this is something you can share in those emails. And we're going to take a look at another one. There's another woman who bravely came forward, Jess, and she shared her story. And we are going to take a look at a couple of things that she shared.
The next thing that happened was, in those days, on Saturday evenings, the entire base would congregate together in the mess hall, which was the original. International Gold Base is a takeover of a golf course. So it's the original, dining room area of clubhouse of this golf course. So it's pretty big. So all of the various organizations that were at the international base, we all fit in one room, and they would put on an LRH lecture, and we would all listen to it together and get, smacked across the head if we were falling asleep and all the things.
So if you were sitting there during the lecture falling asleep, somebody would actually smack you across the head?
With a Freedom magazine or a pen or something,
It's whack. Because they're falling asleep, of course, because they're sleep deprived, right? The thing about, there were so many pieces of information in Jess's story that it's mind-boggling. Both of those interviews. Jess talks about, she was talking about being in front of this whole group on Saturday night. Everybody gets together. They're going to listen to these tape lectures. And she shares how David Miscavige, the head of Scientology, okay, shared information, confidential information. Jess was a teenage girl. She had a boyfriend, right? They did some fun touching. Not all of that is allowed in the Sea organization unless you are married. So they confess these things. When they do that in a Scientology interrogation, it's all written down, and it's supposed to stay in their pre-clear folder, as it's called, and it's supposed to be confidential. Instead, David Miscavige took that and read it to everybody in the room while she was in the room with the boyfriend as a teenager. That is so traumatizing, sex shaming. It's wrong on so many different levels. And she is not the only one that he did this to. Can you imagine being at work? You're in a staff meeting, company-wide meeting, whatever, and you're the head of your company starts reading things out of your HR file, like naming your name, sexual things, telling people in detail what you did with your boyfriend when you're a teenager. You're a teenage staff member too, by the way. This is what this man did. This is what this man does. And this is why we do what we do here. So please do go check out that interview with Jess as well. We're going to look at another clip from her interview here, which sadly has to do with her mother's disconnection. Because you know how it works in Scientology. If you don't go along with things, your family will disconnect from you. The strange thing is, Jess's mom disconnected from her years after she left Scientology. And in the video, she explains what happened and how it got to that. But let's take a look at this clip here.
And she got off the phone and did not originate any communication with me after that. Would not pick up the phone, would not answer text message, nothing. So
that means she was cut off. She cut herself off from her grandkids too then.
Yes, she did. And my husband, who she had a great relationship with for 33 years. And her only grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Just crazy.
So have you not heard from her since then?
No.
So your mother disconnected from you 2020, 4 years ago.
Yep. April 4th, 2020.
Mm-hmm. And
last time she ever picked up the phone, wrote a letter, or anything. That was it.
So her mother disconnect, not just from her, but from Jess's husband, from Jess's children, the only grandchildren that her mother has, great grandchildren as well. She's disconnected from all of them because Jess, even though she left Scientology many, many years ago, went on with her life, got married, had the children that she always wanted to have, grandchildren. She commented online on, what Scientology would consider some anti-Scientology hate site. She commented, not even in her own name, and Scientology found out who she was, told her mom, got the ball rolling on this whole Scientology disconnection. And yep, it is Jess's disconnection story is so sad. I completely agree. So please do check it out. Link down below. You can also go to my channel, go under live. You will find those two interviews. It's devastating. It's tough to listen to, I'll tell you, but it's necessary. It's necessary. And there's some levity in there as well. And they, share too about their lives afterwards. and what they're doing today. And that is heartwarming as well to hear these stories of people, these individuals, these children in the Sea organization who grew up and were able to go and create a life for themselves. In fact, Corinne was in the Sea organization when I was there. She was one of my sister's very good friends. And Corinne talks about that time too, about being forced to live in what was called pig's birthing, where there were like open ceilings and pigeon poop and all this. And that is where she had to sleep as punishment. I mean, it's crazy. So please, you guys check it out and show them support, because it takes a lot to be able to come forward and share those stories. It's personal, and it's a lot to have to revisit it and talk about it. It's not easy, as you guys know, So let's take a look now at a clip from Mark Vicente. He was with NXIVM, right? You guys know the NXIVM cult? Talk about sex cults. And he said something interesting in a recent video that he did about how they got people, how, breaking your moral code and what that has to do with being really how the cult really gets to you and twist things around. Listen to this.
The people inside, and I was once one of those people, had to just make it wrong. And so you couldn't look at what was actually happening in the organization. So what happens is people really break their own moral code. This is the problem with this kind of thinking, is you have a moral code of things you think are important, and you start to break your moral code because you need so badly for the enemy to be wrong, and therefore the leader and us to be right, that you go against your own principles. And I do think that if you have conscience, you start to develop kind of a psychosis. Now, if you don't have conscience, it's not a problem. It's merely a perspective, and it doesn't really matter. But if you do have conscience, which I think most people do, the people inside, and I was once one of those people.
This is just so fascinating to me, because I could totally see that happening, like with my Scientology experience, how that happened little by little. They get you kind of to lose your moral compass. Why? Because it becomes about doing what is the greatest good for Scientology and nothing else. And it was interesting to me to hear that was a tactic in NXIVM, another cult. And it really goes across the boards as far as what cults do. There's definitely some common denominators in how they behave, how they indoctrinate, all of that. In fact, I'm going to be doing an interview today, 1 p.m. Central. Check it out, you guys. It's with cult expert Rick Allen Ross. We're going to talk about Scientology, why it should concern you. I mean, you guys know why it should concern you, because you're here right now. And some things that might, people, I think there's a couple misconceptions about cults and people who get into cults and how susceptible people really might be to it, and some of those myths. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm familiar with some of his work. I've always wanted to chat with him. That's going to be at 1 p.m. Central today. If you can catch it on the replay, catch it on the replay. All right, everybody, we're going to move on to another couple stories. Oh, but first we have to address my not arrest. I shared a picture on my community page. Wanted to see if you guys could guess what was happening here, right? So this is a police officer in the area that I live who, was handcuffing me, but it's not what you thought. This actually was a really fun event. It was a community event in the area that I live in called Apple Day, and the local police department gets out in the community and does demonstrations and does tours of the police vehicles and all of those good things. So I got to be put in the back. And the funny thing is, he was showing some kids how, I guess, how you handcuff somebody and all that. But then there were some people gathering around, I think, who really thought I was being arrested. Because remember, this is like in my community where I live. And it was hilarious, but it was fabulous. It was a great event for the community. And thank you for your compliments too on the dress. I love that dress. I appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you guys are hilarious. Okay, let's jump over now and talk a little bit about this Lisa Marie Presley memoir that's coming out because, I've been wondering, I think they're going to get into Scientology, but listen to this. There's some information here that I have not seen come out before, and we're all wondering how much, if any, of Scientology is going to be included in this. Hey, KSSky, thank you for being a member for 3 months. I appreciate that. Good morning to you as well. So let's look at this. Riley Keough shares never before seen home movies of Elvis, and Lisa Marie Presley have had a poignant milestone. So, Lisa Marie Presley wrote this book. She was working on this memoir. She passed away. Her daughter finished it. So it's like background, but let's get to the point that really had me interested. So they do share this video, and they talk about how the montage of these videos is set to Lisa Marie's 2012 song Storm & Grace. Further included videos of both her as a child with her parents, including Priscilla Presley, and later as an adult with her daughter, whose dad is Danny Keough. The last words, From Here to the Great Unknown, out October 8th, she wrote in her caption, and fans were then quick to take to the comment section under the post with supportive messages. And there's, 3 generations of them: Priscilla, Lisa Marie, and her daughter, Riley. Thank you so much, Riley, for finishing your mom's book. Very appreciated. Such a labor of love to take this on. Can't thank you enough, one wrote, as others followed suit with, this gave me chills and deeply touched my soul. Can't wait to read it. Love Lisa Marie so much, forever in my heart. And OMG, I'm crying with that video. Our Lisa, as well as can't wait to read this book. As previously announced, the memoir will cover much of the highs and lows of Lisa Marie's life growing up in Graceland, her relationship with her father, her difficult relationship with her mother, insight into her marriages to Michael Jackson, Nicolas Cage, Michael Lockwood, and Danny, that's Danny Keough, as well as the heartbreak she experienced after her son Benjamin Keough unalived himself in 2020. And that's a picture of Lisa Marie there with her children and her son Ben. Riley will be voicing the audiobook, and in a statement earlier this year, when she announced the book, she said she shared, few people had the opportunity to know who my mom really was, other than being Elvis's daughter, adding, I was lucky to have had that opportunity, and working on preparing her autobiography for publication has been a privilege, albeit a bittersweet one. I'm so excited to share my mom now at her most vulnerable and most honest. She continued in her statement and concluded, in doing so, I do hope that readers come to love my mom as much as I did. So I'm feeling even more like right at her most vulnerable, at her most honest. I still think she is going to talk about Scientology. How can you say it's an honest, memoir about her mother and not actually talk about Scientology and Lisa Marie's truth of having left Scientology? Just how do you not? How do you not? I mean, you guys tell me. I mean, am I crazy? Don't you think she's going to talk about it? If she doesn't, oh my goodness, it's going to be, I don't know. I feel like there's going to be an uproar if that all got cut out of it. Yeah, Lisa Marie had such a difficult life. I agree. I'm telling you. Okay, let's take a little look now about how Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher are back in the media a bit here. And of course, as usual, it is for none of the right reasons of why you want to be in the media. How Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher went from hot property to has-beens. 6 key moments that caused couple's popularity to plunge. Now, we pretty much know what the main thing is, why that happened, right? And this is kind of the meat and potatoes of what this article gets into, that after more than 2 decades in the public eye, the actors who played young couple Michael Kelso and Jackie Burkhart on the popular, is that naughtiness? Is that what that word is? They faced fierce criticism after it emerged they had written to a judge penning letters supporting actor Danny Masterson after he was found guilty of 2 counts of R in 2023. The assaults to which he pleaded not guilty took place at his Hollywood home between 2001 and 2003. In their letters, Kutcher 46, Kunis 40, who have been married since 2015 and share 2 children, begged for leniency for that 70s show co-star Masterson, who went on to receive a 30-year prison sentence. The pair made individual submissions to the court, despite the former actor already being convicted of R-ing 2 women. When these letters came to light, they incited a major public backlash, during which previous bad behavior and other controversies surrounding the couple came to light. That's from that, apology that they tried to do afterwards. So in their letters, both Kunis and Kutcher spoke highly of Masterson, claiming he always treated people with decency, equality, and generosity. Seemingly flexing his status, Kutcher's submission included the line, "I hope that my testament to his character is taken into consideration in sentencing." He also wrote, "He's an extraordinarily honest and intentional human being. Over our 25-year relationship, I don't ever recall him lying to me. He's taught me about being direct and confronting issues in life and relationships head on, resolving them and moving forward. Danny is a person that is consistently there for you when you need him. Not only is he a good friend to me, I've witnessed him be a good friend to others and the kind of brother others would be lucky to have." Okay, as if that wasn't bad enough, right? Meanwhile, Kunis said she wholeheartedly vouched for Masterson's exceptional character. He had just been convicted, like he was going to prison of what he did to these women. Several women came forward with similar stories and claims. But yeah, you know what? Yay, right? Danny Masterson is still somehow a great guy. The Black Swan actress went on to assert that Masterson is an outstanding role model and celebrated his strength to stay away from drugs, although it's not thought that this extends to alcohol. Of course, they say that because it's been reported that Masterson has had a problem with alcohol. So they get into this whole thing about him living this drug-free life. I'm like, he literally just got convicted of drugging and R-ing women. But oh no, he's all like right up there. Say no to drugs, say yes to life with the Foundation for a Drug-Free World. His dedication to avoiding all substances has inspired not only me, but also countless others in our circle, Kunis wrote. Okay, so I guess he's drug-free unless he wants to use, Rohypnol, whatever the drugs he used to actually drug women. Danny's steadfastness in promoting a drug-free lifestyle, of course, remember, except for the women he was drugging, has been a guiding light in my journey through the entertainment world and has helped me prioritize my well-being and focus on making responsible choices. She continued, his unwavering commitment to being an exceptional older brother figure to me has had a transformative impact on my life, instilling in me a sense of self-belief and encouraging me to aim for greatness, but all while maintaining a sense of humility. And again, they just went on and on about this guy's drug-free life. It was crazy. His dedication to leading a drug-free life and the genuine care he extends to others makes him an outstanding role model and friend. Following Masterson's sentencing, their letters were made public, which it appears the couple did not expect. At the time, Kutcher was chairman of the board of Charity Thorn, which had been co-funded by Kutcher and his former wife, Demi Moore, in 2009, a nonprofit purported to help fight child sex exploitation. Kunis was an observer on the organization's board. So during his trial, jurors were told that Masterson had drugged women before assaulting them. So the emphasis Kunis put on his dedication to leading a substance-free life was seen as an attempt to deliberately undermine the testimony of his victims, a position entirely at odds with the couple's advocacy work with Thorn. And there, of course, is a picture of Ashton with P. Diddy, who's in all kinds of trouble right now, and rightfully so. In addition to his controversial friendship with Danny Masterson, Kutcher, pictured left, was also close friends with rapper Sean Diddy Combs, who's being investigated over sex trafficking allegations, seen in 2007 at the New York launch of the rapper's Unforgivable Women's Fragrance Party. So, it kind of goes on to the backlash and whatnot that happened with them and all of that. And I think most of us are familiar with that and what happened, but it just continues to blow my mind how it's like I get pissed off all over again when I read that. because, oh, he's just led this drug-free life. It's like, did you forget what he just got charged for? I mean, like, how, it just makes no sense. It just makes no sense. Okay, let's take a look now we're going to look at a little bit of Isaac Hayes news. Isaac Hayes was a Scientologist. He was on South Park. He played Chef. Most of you probably know this. This is a new article out, revealed the secrets of how how Scientology blew up South Park. So there's Isaac Hayes and Chef, the character that he played. First, Chef was a central character. All of a sudden, he's gone. This is why. So here is the really interesting part to this. When Isaac Hayes announced in a press release in March 13th, 2006, that he was leaving the Comedy Central show South Park, he blamed the show's intolerance towards religion, but he notably did not use the word Scientology, because remember, South Park did the whole episode, Trapped in the Closet, right, with Tom Cruise, and then blew the lid off of the whole Xenu story. Ever since then, people have debated whether the legendary Shaft singer was really walking away from his lucrative run as South Park chef because creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker had been poking fun at all religions, or specifically because they had satirized Scientology so effectively just a few months ago in an episode that aired in November of 2005. And I like that this is being called out here, because he did quit right after that. But here's the thing. A new wrinkle arrived in 2016 when Isaac's son, Isaac Hayes III, revealed in a Hollywood Reporter interview that in January 2006, his father had a minor stroke, and it was his belief that someone else had written the March press release and had quit the show for him. Stone and Parker said they suspected as much. So Isaac Hayes quits the show after the South Park thing, but then it's like, well, wait a minute here. We find out years later that he had a stroke, and his own son is saying he's not the one that quit. Now, finally, there's stunning new evidence about what actually happened, and it suggests that there was a combination of factors at work. Hayes was deeply offended by the episode, and he agreed immediately with the highest levels of Scientology management to quit the show, but to wait some time in order to throw off the press for his reasons. And when he did quit and issue that press release in March 2006, March 13th to be exact, when he quit and issued that press release, March 13th, 2006. You guys know what March 13th is? In fact, March 13th. What's March 13th, you guys? Tell me in the chat. If you're on the replay, jump in those comments. I know you guys know this. What significance is March 13th in Scientology? I'm going to keep reading. You guys jump in the chat. It's all spelled out in a formally secretive Scientology memo written on November 17, 2005, the day after the airing of the episode, by high-ranking executive Mike Rinder, who has since left the church and became a high-profile critic of its practices, and sent to the Church of Scientology ruthless ultimate leader David Miscavige. Yes, it's written by me. Rinder tells the Daily Beast today as he helps decode some of the arcane acronyms at the top of the page, showing who received copies of it, explaining that Miscavige was only one of several to get the memo. The others, Rinder says, were much less important. He knew whoever else was on the list had no clue what to do about any external situations, Rinder says. And that is a whopper of an external situation. So listen to this. This is from that document regarding South Park. Dear Sir, this program aired last night on Comedy Central. They did not contact the church or give any forewarning on the show, not even to Isaac. The program is a total J&D of Scientology, and J&D is joking and degrading. You're not allowed to joke and degrade and make fun of things in Scientology. It's so boring that way. I got in trouble for that all the time, and I'm sure that's going to surprise many of you. The program is a total joking and degrading of Scientology, Tom Cruise, and John Travolta, and contains upper-level data, Rinder wrote. J&D is short for joking and degrading, a no-no in Scientology world where everything is supposed to be focused on clearing the planet. So South Park had parodied this information with a graphic that read, "This is what Scientologists actually believe." And that was the whole Xenu and body Thetans and all of that. And they were correct about this, as Rinder's memo confirms. Because remember, after South Park came out, Scientology told their people, "Oh, it's not real. That's not true. That's not what it is. It's squirrel information. It's altered information," because Scientology can't let their members know that, hey, you're going to spend potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this level, but you can learn everything you want to learn about it on the internet or watching South Park. And yes, you guys are correct who are guessing. Alon Harbor's birthday is on March 13th. So I thought that's interesting too, right? Don't you kind of think that's interesting that it came out at that time? What's up with that? Phil Jones, the 1973 W5 Canadian investigative journalism show, came out on March 13th, criticizing Scientology. Great timing on their part. That's so true. Amber says, and Amber is an ex-Sea Org member, "I served Isaac dinner at Celebrity Center. He was rude." Oh, that's a bummer. That's a bummer to hear. Huh. Yep, you guys are all catching. It was Alon Harbor's birthday. Absolutely it was. Absolutely. Let's see. Make sure later you keep an eye out for Nance Drew's live. She's going live for the first time in a long time. Nisa says, "This proves that Scientology puts everyone in danger. It's disgusting. They need mental health care." Yeah, absolutely. So you guys got some homework here. I want you to join me at 1:00 Central today for my interview with cult expert Rick Ellen Ross. And if you haven't, check out those videos from those two women who bravely came forward and shared their stories of being in the Sea Organization, both of them as teenagers. Corinne entered the Sea Organization when she was 12 years old. So make sure you guys check that out. Hit that like button, hit subscribe. Most of all, get out there and have an amazing cult-free day.